Crew Resource Management, better known as CRM, sparked its early beginnings from the field of human factors. One of the most practical working definitions of human factors comes from the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO.
It states, human factors is about people. It is about people in their working and living environment, and it's about their relationship with equipment, procedures, and the environment. Just as importantly, it is about their relationships with other people. Its two objectives can be seen as safety and efficiency.
On December 29, 1972, a Lockheed L-1011 crashed into the Florida Everglades, killing 99 people on board. The cause of the crash was attributed to 3 crew members being fixated on the problem of a burnt-out light bulb.
Tower, Eastern 401, looks like we're going to have to circle. We don't have a light on our nose gear yet.
Eastern 401 heavy, roger. Pull up, climb straight ahead to 2000, go back to approach control, 128.6.
Okay, up to 2000, 128.6.
Okay, autopilot coming on.
Now see if you can get that light on. Go down there and see if that nose gear is down.
I'll check it out. We're still at 2000 here, right?
Hey, what's happening here?
The 1970s were noted for having a significant number of major aviation accidents involving highly professional flight crews. As a result, this decade marked the implementation of crew resource management. In 1972, a multidisciplinary approach was taken, bringing about the human factors shell model. The shell model helps define any productive process by examining the interactions and relationships of all the vital components. Its name is derived from the initial letters of its 4 components. The first component, S, represents software. In an aviation environment, software is reflected in the regulations, manuals, and the standard operating procedures by which a crew operates. The second component in the shell model is H, or hardware. Hardware is comprised of the actual cockpit, the layout of flight controls, seat design, and computer systems. The third component in the shell model is E, representing the environment. The environment embodies both internal cabin and external aircraft areas. Elements such as temperature, noise, vibration, weather, terrain, landing and approach all play a part of the environment component. The last and fourth component of the shell model is L, pertaining to liveware. Liveware represents the different individuals at work in an aviation environment. Liveware is the pilots, flight crew, air traffic control, maintenance personnel, ground crew, and people working in the en route centers. As demonstrated, there are multiple layers within this initial shell model, and the layering of these interacting forces can become quite complex. The shell model was one of the first coordinated efforts to explore the various relationships at work in the aviation process. As aviation continued to evolve and become more sophisticated, the shell model began to reflect a more complex process with layering methods in an aviation environment. For instance, as aircraft technology and software improved, checklists expanded, extensive safety procedures were required, more regulations were necessary, and the pilots became further immersed in multitask efforts. Software and checklists continued to escalate due to the increased load of hardware in the cockpit. flight deck technology evolved into more complex instruments and advanced displays, as engineers tested new aircraft designs in an effort to accommodate more passengers. The liveware component of the shell model became further embedded in safety-critical processes. In 1974, Frank Bird, an industrial safety pioneer, endorsed the domino theory, correlating that a series of errors can lead to a mishap. Like dominoes falling, one sequentially leads to another until the final piece falls. The domino theory implies that if any one domino is removed from the sequence and is strong enough to withstand impact, the expected result of other dominoes falling is not likely to happen. In 1990, British psychologist James Reason expanded and updated the domino theory of error, calling it the Swiss cheese model. Reason was able to categorize active and latent failures that can occur and interact in any given situation. Active failures represent actions that cause the failure, whereas latent failures contribute indirectly to errors in the chain of command.
While hopefully there are several safeguards in place to protect situations from occurring, like Swiss cheese, there are holes in even the best laid plans. However, if the holes become aligned, indicating a breakdown in safeguards, an accident is likely to result.
While applying concepts of the Swiss cheese model, Dr. Scott Chappell and Dr. Douglas Wigman designed the Human Factors Analysis and Classification System known as HAAX. The HAAX system examines how aviation problems are developed, whether the issues are skill-based, perceptual, or can be attributed to organizational factors. HAAX helps gain insight into how and why human errors occur in aviation. Using a 4-tiered approach to demonstrate how accidents occur, these tiers provide guidance of how to potentially improve human performance. The top tier represents organizational factors and then flows down to the next tier of unsafe supervision. The next tier symbolizes preconditions for unsafe acts. Subsequently, the last or bottom tier is an unsafe act which ultimately results in an accident or injury.
Simply put, crew resource management represents yet another layered tier under the preconditions for unsafe acts. Being able to recognize active and latent conditions helps in the prevention of an accident. By utilizing an open communication process, conducting prioritizations, and managing the workload effectively, CRM reinforces the importance of accident prevention.
Think about what aviation was like over a century ago. What kind of paperwork and checklist did the Wright brothers use? How much hardware were they working with in the cockpit? We can visibly see the crew size and acknowledge that the sand dunes of Kitty Hawk set the stage for their environment. In contrast, let's look at the military's B-52 Stratofortress. Operating from 8 engines and a crew of 6, the maintenance debrief can last anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours depending upon system issues and problems. What kind of differences in hardware and software exist among these decades of aviation?
As technologies persist in generating complexities in the cockpit, it is easy for one to trace how workload management continues to expand in different aviation environments.
Upon seeing the DC-3 for the first time, General Billy Mitchell said, "Too many gadgets. Man can't fly in rough conditions and watch all those gauges." Through the use of communications, prioritizations, and workload management, the backbone of crew resource management was created.
The more sophisticated the machinery, the more time investment required. When examining aviation automation and hardware, it's apparent that systems have been consolidated, making dials easier to read.
Nevertheless, a substantial amount of information flows through the hardware, requiring an inordinate amount of training for the user. As a byproduct of the hardware process, software procedures are continually revisited.
Originally, the concept of cockpit resource management consisted of studying pilots on the flight deck. Using the liveware component, the concept of crew later increased to incorporate operational areas that affect the flight profile.
For example, flight attendants, maintenance personnel, ground crew, dispatchers, and air traffic control personnel are vital.
While there are many incidents that led to the study of CRM in the 1970s, for purposes of this training, only a few examples will be discussed.
A major event held in 1979 was the NASA Industrial Workshop. This meeting was considered to be the foundation of aviation psychology and cockpit resource management. Several major airlines were represented at this summit. Vital industry gurus contributed to the synergistic exchange, including Lauber, Cooper, and Foshi. It was from such a gathering that United Airlines started their own practice of command, leadership, and resource management, known as CLR.
This was the first time that people of diverse occupational backgrounds were brought together in the interest of aircraft safety.
Ideas were shared among psychologists, flight surgeons, academians, and airline pilots. While the workshop opened dialogue among these varying groups, the event provoked suspicions among air crews, concerned that too many specialists were getting into their business, potentially resulting in losing control of the cockpit. Over time, the air crews began to realize that they were not losing control of the cockpit, rather they were learning how to manage the systems and workload more efficiently.
Washington approach, Pinnacle 452. We have the airport in sight.
There are many underlying concepts towards accident prevention. Crew resource management is manifested by three inherent factors: communications, setting priorities, and workload management. Admittedly, these factors can affect any kind of business or corporation, but what sets CRM apart from other lines of business are the added factors of time and death.
Incidentally, emergency and operating rooms, as well as nuclear reactor control facilities, share time and death factors with the aviation environment. The goal of CRM training is to blend technical and human skills to support safe and efficient aviation operations. CRM skills rely heavily upon technical skills being current and efficient. Using the HAAX model, with emphasis on organization and supervision components, it is imperative that the pilot and crew are technically competent. Referencing FAA-AC Order 120-51E, there are three clusters that depict the technical flight control category. They are motor skills, procedural skills, and information-based knowledge. Motor skills involve visual representations, interpretations of hazards, system controls, etc. Procedural skills encompass emergency situations, flight maneuvers, and abnormal occurrences. Information-based knowledge is comprised of organizational policies, laws, rules, security, and hazardous materials.
CRM training has evolved through the generations. To get an idea of specifically how CRM has transformed over the years, one can read the research as documented by Helmrich, Merritt, and Wilhelm in their article published in the International Journal of Aviation Psychology.
Crew resource management has been represented by three related clusters: communication processes and decision-making, team building and maintenance, workload management and situational awareness. The communications cluster reflects briefings and debriefings, inquiries and assertions, and conflict resolution. The team building cluster is comprised of leadership, operational concerns, and the interpersonal climate. The workload management cluster includes preparation and planning, vigilance, and workload distribution. It was through groundbreaking research in 1979 that Raphael Smith explored the decision-making abilities of pilot and crew. Using a simulator, he studied air crews on a simulated flight from New York to London. He examined pilot and crew behavior by imposing a technical failure of losing the function of an aircraft engine. He wanted to observe how an in-flight emergency would affect crew performance.
A number of aviation accidents in the 1970s confirmed that air crews exhibited problems in the practice of crew resource management. While awareness has been raised, similar type problems still face crew members today. Issues involving inadequate leadership, failure to communicate intentions and plans, and failure to set priorities. Fortunately, there has been improvement with CRM over the past 30 years, due in part to many of the larger air carriers placing greater emphasis on training and educating crews about CRM. Single-seat and multi-place crews must be aware of threats in the aircraft that hinder the effective use of CRM skills. Whether general aviation, corporate, or student pilot, this set of DVDs aims to inform all types of air crews about crew resource management.
As automation becomes more computerized and technology continues to change, the ability to communicate effectively remains paramount. Crew members must be able to utilize their resources and communicate properly. When researching the kinds of crew resource management courses that are available, there are many different programs to choose from.
The United States Air Force, privately owned companies, and various government agencies all offer different forms of CRM training. But why is it that CRM training differs? As one might imagine, businesses operate using different objectives and visions. Course content can vary due to aircrew, aircraft type, financial restraints, the culture of the organization or airline, and the developer of the course, as they can be working from a psychological perspective or from a systems design background. The key to obtaining a beneficial CRM course, regardless of who develops it, is to obtain a good needs analysis prior to enrollment. In other words, what kinds of problems are the crew experiencing? It is essential to get buy-in from the entire organization, from the top down and from the bottom up. Every member of the organization, from management to crew, must be vested in the program. Any broken link or disinterested party in the organizational chain will affect the success of the CRM process. What are the expectations and what do the course participants hope to achieve from CRM training? Everyone must be in agreement of the course objectives. An effective CRM training course should be based on an analysis of organizational needs and be in direct response to the organization's request. More importantly, for single-seat and general aviation operations, it is essential for pilots to see the benefits of safety and efficiency in the cockpit. A successful CRM program exhibits at least 3 essential components. This set of DVDs shows the different elements or components that can be utilized as part of an initial CRM program. Stage 1 involves initial indoctrination and awareness. Examples of the kinds of subjects covered in a standard CRM course include classroom presentations, concentrating on communication skills, decision-making exercises, interpersonal relations, crew coordination, leadership, and understanding standard operating procedures. The next essential component representing Stage 2 of CRM training is to ensure recurrent practice and feedback. Periodic refresher training is a necessity to reinforce the learning of earlier objectives. How often such training occurs is based on the culture of that organization. Some businesses prefer refresher training annually, whereas some organizations may provide refresher training every 3 years.
Refresher training is often called LOFT, or Line-Oriented Flight Training. Instead of reviewing all the subjects in a CRM course, refresher training may concentrate on only one subject using a simulator to create the scenario for behavior observation. The more realistic a simulator or training environment can be to an actual flying environment, the easier it is to observe and assess real-time behaviors.
To be effective, Stage 3 of CRM training requires continual reinforcement. The concepts must be repeatedly embedded within the organization's training programs and business culture. As noted earlier, many general aviation pilots don't have the luxury that corporate or commercial pilots do in obtaining follow-up CRM training. Thus, it's important for GA pilots to be self-reliant in gaining more in-depth CRM instruction whenever possible. This line graph depicts the involvement of the aviation industry and the types of issues the industry has faced over spans of time. Crew resource management has been in existence for quite some time. As automated flight technology evolved, so did crew coordination training. It wasn't until the 1979 NASA conference that research into the causes of air transport accidents intensified. This meeting instigated examinations into human resources with the intent of reducing pilot error. Dr. Jefferson Kuntz traced aviation psychology back to 1915 to the aviation teachings in Germany.
The U.S. would soon follow as the field of aviation expanded and industry trailblazers began to look at the interaction of humans in a little more detail.
As observed from Sir Ernest Shackleton's journey across Antarctica in 1914, concepts of CRM have been crudely applied prior to having a name to call it. Having a crew, working toward a common goal, providing leadership during perilous times, prioritizing needs, and keeping communication open are components that can describe effective teamwork in most any environment.
While the theory wasn't as neatly packaged as it is today, unknowingly, over time, people have successfully implemented basic CRM proficiencies.
As seen in general aviation, having the ability to step into a modern-day aircraft entails having an understanding of advanced technology. More so than ever, it is imperative that single-seat pilots understand fundamental concepts and threats that are associated with CRM. While today's aviation environment may look a little different from days long past, the need to emphasize crew resource management as part of human factors continues to be a long-standing effort.
Even as humans persist in the pursuit of developing and improving technology, communications, and the ability to make quick, sound decisions remain a valuable commodity in any business environment.
As the aviation accident rate continues to decline and technology reinforces a transportation system that is safe and reliable, the study of human factors is strengthened through the endorsement of CRM concepts. Crew resource management is an attempt to improve humans' ability to perform work using complex machinery, while simultaneously creating a safe flying environment. The Civil Aerospace Medical Institute has developed a video series for operational human factors. Subjects such as fatigue, situational awareness, and risk management are among several modules available for viewing. For more information, visit FAA.gov and follow the links to aerospace medicine and human factors research.